What does it really mean to write from the heart? Where does inspiration come from, and how do you keep creating when the ideas stop flowing? In this episode, writer and creative writing teacher Elise Valmorbida shares her process, her discipline, and the tools behind turning curiosity and emotion into powerful stories. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Crossroads, the CO.AS.IT podcast where we explore the stories, ideas, and journeys that shaped our community. Through personal conversations and lived experiences, Crossroads is a space where different paths meet, where identity, culture, and change are always at the center. So, take a moment, settle in, and join us at the Crossroads. Today we are here in the CO.AS.IT classes with Elise Valmorbida, that our Italian community, most of our Italian community already know because she has a lot of publications out there, and she already had a very successful workshop last year, and now there is a new one coming up, right? Hello Elise, how are you?
Hi Stefano, ciao.
So how is, first of all, for the people that don't know you, how would you introduce yourself?
Oh, that's not a fair question. We can't start with that. What can I say? I started off as a graphic designer. I became a creative director. In between, I produced an indie feature film, wrote a novel, since then quite a few books. I now teach creative writing and I write books, and I still work a little bit for clients to help them communicate.
Let's say that nowadays Elise is one of those people that embrace the crusade of art, because nowadays it's very hard to produce art and in a sustainable way, right? Mm. But you still write a lot. You're very proficient in your writing, and you still find the motivation and especially the inspiration, right? Mm. Tell me a little bit of the process of when you find an idea, how you work around that. So where does the inspiration come from?
Oh, that's another really unfair question. This is going to be a tough old podcast, I can tell. Inspiration comes from anywhere and everywhere. And I think every writer, every creative person should be open and curious and open to a sense of wonder and observation, perception. And so allow inspiration to come from potentially anywhere. Meeting a new person, going to a new place, reading a book, seeing a film, walking through a particular place, hearing a sound, listening to music. There are just so many different ways in which inspiration can come at you, but the point is to be open and working.
And working hard, having like a little bit of discipline, let's say.
I think so. You know, Picasso had this line, and I'm going to mangle it right now, but it was something along the lines of, you don't know where inspiration comes, but I'll be in the studio every day to make sure I'm there when she visits. Of course, being Picasso, I had to be a female and a muse and all of that. Let's not go there.
But, and is it, like every art and every artist experience at least once in a life the block, how you say, il blocco dell'artista, blocco dello scrittore.
Sì.
How would you say that in English? Is
a creative block or a writer's block? Yeah.
So how do you welcome it and take a break when it happens, if it happens, or you just fight it?
That's a good question. I think it depends on how serious you are about your creative practice. If you really have a sense of commitment and discipline about it, you work through that and you work despite that. And sometimes in that barren wilderness of a phase where nothing much is happening, a little tiny gleam of something will occur. And again, if you're open, you're curious, you're keeping your perceptions open and your mind open, and your practice open. So even if you're writing rubbish every day, there's always something good in the rubbish if you look.
That's very true. I really resonate with that. As a musician, I had 1 year of block. I couldn't practice at all. I couldn't write music. I understand that, and only when I embraced it and with open heart, something came back. So Yeah, actually, it's not where you don't fight it, but you approach life with an open heart, and then it gives you back something. Tell us a little bit about the previous art workshop that we had here at CO.AS.IT. So it was a success. You had, of course, you had sold out at the previous one, and tell us a little bit about the last year workshop worked.
Okay. So I've done quite a few workshops here at CO.AS.IT, creative writing, on different themes, but last year was the first time we had writing from the heart, and it was an experiment for me. All my workshops are new. Every time I do a workshop, I create a new workshop for the participants. I want it to be fresh for them and for me, and of course every group makes it different. So writing from the heart was a bit of an experiment, a bit of a toe in the water, and as you said, it was fully booked, and we had a waiting list. And it went really well, and we thought, okay, that's obviously a subject or a theme that appeals. We'll try it again this year, but this year is a 2-day workshop, so you do a lot of work on the first workshop day, then you have a week in between to refine and craft and shape and think and edit, and then you come back for a very different day on the second workshop day. So it's 2 Saturdays in a row.
That's a very good idea, to have also a breathe and find some internal voices, maybe, to write something and work on the skills, on the talent. And so the next one, let's say it's a consequence of the first one of this series. We cannot say if there will be new ones, but we hope so. I'm pretty sure you will have new workshops in the future. However, we cannot anticipate anything. But also the next workshop is already sold out. You have a kind of sort of waiting list. And so what's the main theme of the next one? How would you describe to someone that approached for the first time the topic?
Writing from the heart. So it's a very broad phrase, if you like, and of course we will investigate that phrase and what that means, because that will mean different things to different people. But of course we will look at things like, what does it mean, the heart? Usually we say, as opposed to the head, we talk about the head and the heart, oddly being different, and yet we know how entwined those two things are. So unpacking some of those sorts of differences, and I guess people will associate the heart with feeling and emotion, perhaps spontaneity, strangely gut, even though that's another part of the body.
Yes.
So in a funny kind of way, we'll be exploring the embodiment of emotions and the embodiment of thought, and how that feeds into the creative output. And what happens, going back to your question about writer's block, is sometimes we become quite rigid with our notion of what we should be writing or creating, or how other people will perceive it, or we internalize all the potential critics of the world, and we activate an inner saboteur, and all of that ends up meaning that we don't produce because we have the blank page or the blank screen, and we're terrified of it because we're, in a strange egotistical way, seeking perfection. And so this workshop hopefully will help dismantle some of those sabotages and get people into producing and allowing themselves to freely express. And then, of course, that's different from the shaping and the crafting and the polishing that goes with the more analytical second phase of writing.
That's incredible, and I appreciate that you will provide the perfect tools for who is already experienced and who is approaching for the first time to creative writing or writing in general. But now I have another hard question, because I like the...
I can tell you like your hard questions.
because we need to give a real insight of how to be a creative, right? A creative person. So I think that I always ask to people that organize events is that you bring something, okay, but also you receive something. So what's the new things that you always get from the people that come to you? Because I'm pretty sure you learn something new every time as well.
That's a question to put to any teacher, I think.
Yes.
I love teaching. I don't do it because, for example, I've got nothing else to do, or I need to make a bit of money on the side or something. I absolutely do not do it for the money. I do it because I love it. I really have a sense of vocation about teaching. So I think anyone who has a vocation with regard to teaching will probably have a similar kind of answer, but there is a reward. There's a great reward in seeing people struggling with something and then not. People making discoveries, their faces change, their bodies change, their eyes change. It's just so inspiring to me and rewarding, emotionally uplifting. I guess that's the main thrill for me. And I guess I'm old enough now to say I want to share some of what I've learned rather than keeping it to myself. But mind you, that's a kind of false position because I was teaching when I was 21. So
you've been...
So I've been teaching something all my life. I taught English at Melbourne University, English literature, and I taught graphic design at a couple of the colleges in London where I live. I've taught speech and drama when I was younger, and I've been teaching creative writing for quite a good while.
I understand what you said, because interviewing a lot of teachers, they have very similar answers, because giving is the word to give, the verb to give. It's a weird one, because the more you give and the more you receive. In this field, in the creative field, the more you give and the more you fill up yourself, and that's something that I really resonate to. And I'm pretty sure the people that will come, they will also give a lot to you, and they will receive equally. And do you have a suggestion for any listener that maybe is not able to come and join the workshop, but would like to start somewhere? So what would be your first suggestion? Let's say like the suggestion for the beginners.
See if you can find another workshop to go to.
A good one. Another good one, yeah?
Yeah, no, you've got to be fussy as well, because there are a lot of flaky, cakey people out there offering teaching in any creative practice. It's a bit of a wild west. So you need to really check out the credentials of the person teaching and also read their bio and the description of the course or the class that's on offer, and if it resonates with you. But if you don't take up another class or course, I would say read. If you're really serious about writing, read. The more you read, I assure you, the better a writer you'll become. And read voraciously and widely. That's really helpful. Keep a notebook and have it on you all the time, and don't put your shopping or admin or chores in it, but put all those little bits and pieces of observation and thought, and perhaps a dream you had last night, or your thoughts about a film that you saw, or an idea for a story. Even if it's a totally rubbish idea, get it down, write it down. Even if you hear a beautiful phrase and you just think, you don't know why, you just love the sound of those words, write it down. Joan Didion had this phrase, and it goes something along the lines of useless bits of mental string. And I love that, because you're not doing it for a reason. There's not an end goal. You're basically keeping and storing and building a repository. But meanwhile, you're exercising the parts of your brain
That's true.
that turn thoughts or feelings into words. So you're keeping fit. It's a kind of fitness.
Yeah, it's like, as a musician, again, I really see similar elements. Same thing, when you listen to more music, your brain is more likable to produce good music.
I'm sure there's...
So, there is it's a vocabulary and is a language. Also, writing is a language in a language itself. Speaking of which book would you recommend right now to our listeners if they don't know your journey, they don't know your legacy?
Oh gosh, well the two that are most easily available here in Australia are my last novel, which is called The Madonna of the Mountains, and the other is a guide to creative writing called The Happy Writing Book, which is very much about that intertwining of life and well-being and creative writing. So it's based on my true experience of having been a practitioner and a teacher for all these years. I've noticed that having a sustained practice has actually changed my life. It's enhanced my life, and it becomes a virtuous circle, because each time you notice that something has enhanced your life, then your life starts feeding back into the loop, and you become more positive in your energy about your creativity, and then that feeds back again. So being open to wonder, for example, or new experiences or discovery means that even if you're stuck at a bus stop for half an hour when you thought, you were going to be traveling to wherever, it can become an opportunity to think and be creative and observe and listen, meditate even.
I love that. Sometimes when I'm stuck at the bus stop, I write some funny things on Facebook for my friends, and it's a good moment to put all the stupid thoughts that we have in the morning and make a good story for someone, or maybe not stupid thoughts, deeper ones. There is always time to write something interesting, and this book looks also cool because I believe that probably you did the graphic here, right?
I didn't. No. A very wonderful designer called Harry Pearce at Pentagram in London did that.
It's an amazing. It looks great. Like I can recognize this book from 1 kilometer. There is this face winking, maybe no.
Yeah,
like
it's made out of a bracket, a full stop, and an asterisk. Yeah,
it's amazing. It's very very smart graphic. And tell me a little bit about the Madonna. Where is this Madonna from?
She's a fiction, but she's inspired by lots of the Madonne that appear throughout Italy, but in this particular case, the mountains in the Veneto or even further north, the Dolomites and so on.
Sorry to interrupt you, because you're originally from Veneto. Your family.
My family is, but I was born in Melbourne.
Yes.
But I still have relatives in the Veneto, and no one in England where I live, and lots of people here. Yeah.
And before we dig into the Madonna of the Mountains, you say that you lived in London. So do you still live there and you come here? Because so how is your life divided between Melbourne and London? Do you come often to Melbourne?
Well, since good old COVID and lockdown, the dreaded phase of our lives that we choose to try to forget, I just thought, something's got to shift here. Because for a good while, I felt I'll never see my loved ones in Australia again because, the ban on flying, the ban on traveling, everything and everyone was quarantined. So the minute it was possible, I came out to Australia, and I thought, instead of just coming out for a pseudo-tourist visit, I'm not a tourist, I'm from Melbourne, I'll book in a longer stay and I'll sort out work so that I've got real purpose when I'm here, apart from writing and researching, but proper teaching. And the plan, universe permitting, is to come here for 3 months every year. So that's what I've done now since lockdown ended.
That's great.
And it's working really well so far.
It's a great thing. By the way, it's amazing to have the possibility of spreading your art between Melbourne and London, and I'm pretty sure that also fills your creativity, your inspiration, something new all the time. And also, what about Italy? Do you go often to Italy?
I do. I do a lot. And then this is one of the many virtues of living in London. It's very, very easy to get to Italy. So, for example, in October this year, I'm teaching in Umbria a residential writing retreat in a beautiful place near Lippiano, and just on the border with Tuscany. And
beautiful.
That's the 5th year we've done it. I teach with Tobias Jones, who wrote The Dark Heart of Italy, and Alice Vincent, who's written various books and a lot of journalism. This year with Claire Pollard, who's a poet. So 3 of us teachers, we basically hunker down for a week. We have 24 people come from all over the world, and we devote ourselves to creative writing. Meanwhile, we are served the best Umbrian Tuscan food,
of course,
by the staff of this villa. And there's this glorious landscape, and you can go for fantastic walks, you can go foraging. October is divine because it's autumn. We go and forage for sweet chestnuts, you name it. So that's one of the reasons I go to Italy is that. And then otherwise, my current novel, which is with my agent at the moment, a lot of that is set in Italy, as Madonna of the Mountains was. So I go with very specific research intentions.
Okay.
And that means I've been to the most obscure places, not on the tourist maps, just really quite specific research missions.
That's quite interesting because Italy has... When I say this, I'm pretty sure that our listeners, they are thinking about their hometown, they have probably a church somewhere, between in a forest or somewhere very remote. Going back to the Madonna, so
Yes.
the Madonna was one of those stories. So you went to find a location. So how did it start? Did it start from a location or from the story of the Madonna?
It started from, okay, so I have cousins, and I used to have aunts and great aunts, in Italy. So of course I'd go to Italy to visit them. And over the years, I basically collected bits and pieces of story and anecdotes. When people sit down and you're having a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and someone says, "Oh, I remember," and before you know it, you're in World War II. Or before World War II. I remember going to a wedding once, and it was, I don't know, a neighbour, and it was one of those big weddings where everybody went, and I was invited somehow because I was staying with my cousins. And I was just sat at the table, and it was just, plastic chairs outdoors, great big tables covered in white paper, but masses and masses of people. And suddenly there was this really old man next to me, and someone had brought him over and said, he wants to talk to you because he knows you like old things. And he was talking about the First World War, for goodness sake. And he was that old. And this is, 20, 30 years ago now. So back to my notebook, I would get out my notebook and make notes. And,
Fantastic.
And at a certain point, I just thought, writer's block, I finished my last book. What am I going to write about? I know, I'll get out my notebooks and I'm going to transcribe into the, computer anything and everything to do with Italy, nature, the past, history, food, customs, sayings, ways of life, observations of my own travel experiences and thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
And when I did this, it accumulated to a document of maybe 40 pages, which is crazy. So I thought, if I can't,
because then you need to expand everything and everything.
I thought, if I can't find a story or make a novel out of this, I need to go back and buy a brain from somewhere. Seriously.
No, I understand. Like, so beside being lucky, you can still find a story everywhere. That's why it's very important, the suggestion you said before. Notebook with you all the time, a pen, you write down. Also, the act of writing is better than typing, for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you make a non-material thing, you transform it into a material thing.
Yes.
It's very important. And so don't forget, to all our listeners that wants to embrace this journey of writing, this crusade nowadays, buy a little notebook that can be in your pocket, and take a pen with you and go around and write about things.
Absolutely. And the phone also works because, of course, we have the notes function on that. But as we all know, you pull out the phone to make a note and you see that your friend has messaged you or someone's posted on social media, and before you know it, you've forgotten or you've lost your focus or your inspiration has evaporated.
Yes.
So the phone is handy if you have nothing else, but I agree with you. Little notebook and a pen.
I used to do it. I need to go back to that. So all your publications, especially the Madonna of the Mountains and the Happy Writing book, can they be found online and in libraries?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so if you're interested, and also you can go to Elise's website, which is elisevalmorbida.com. You can check her work, which is amazing, is huge. There is so much to pick. If you want to pick something to learn from, you will find it. If you want something more of a story, you will find it. And stay in touch, because I'm pretty sure one day there will be a new workshop somewhere. Let's hope so. Let's cross fingers. And what's your dream for the future before we say goodbye?
My dream for the future?
Yes.
Do you know, I'm one of those sad people that don't really have dreams. I mean, I have dreams when I sleep, but I don't have a burning mission or intention to be this or have that or do that. I guess I really like life.
So you're already living your dream.
That sounds really smug, and I don't think I would quite say that either, but I try my hardest to enjoy every day. I try my hardest to really appreciate what I have, and I know I'm a very lucky person in this world. There are so many people who don't have food, never mind the luxury to read books or talk about books or education or whatever. So I guess I try. It's an effort. We have to override it. You know, the natural, tendency to complain or be despondent or, be defeated by world news. You can override that and be grateful. Be grateful.
It's very important to be grateful nowadays, especially with the news that are going around.
Yeah.
So Elise, thank you very much for this beautiful chat. I'm pretty sure we could have extended this chat for other 2 days, but for now, maybe we will do another episode one day. But for now, I want to say bye. I want to thank our listeners, and we're gonna catch up next week with the next episode of Crossroads. So thanks, Elise.
Thank you.